You know, I didn't mean for that to happen. Happened anyway. Whatever. So, why am I streaming? No reason. Honestly, couldn't tell you. Could not tell you. I thought there was a chat window. Oh. There is one. Oh, there it is. Okay. Just in case. Not that anyone's going to watch it. But it's freezing. My hand is ice cold. I've worked out. I noticed that the lighting in here was not very bright. And it was cutting in, or it was causing things to look very, like, I mean, you could still see a little bit of a, you know, what do you call it? Slow shutter kind of deal. Long frame. That sort of shit. But I turned that down and then I upped the gain on the little webcam and trying to make it look a little bit more presentable. So, what's going on? Nothing. I'm getting, I'm in the process of mixing and working on stuff. And I find that, kind of not really happy. I realize that, there's a lot that goes into mixing that is, just dealing with frequencies, specific frequencies, and trying to crush things down into a bandwidth that is usable, where you can maximize. I don't know. There's just so much that goes into it, and my ADD doesn't allow for it. I try to rush through things, and I always fuck it up. I like to say that I'm not good at anything. And I'm not really. I never really excel at much. But anyway, it's funny to me that I still try to stream, because one of the things that I do a lot is talk to myself. I have audio recordings on my phone of every single day I drive into work and every single day I drive home. It's like, it's not good. It's bad for the mind to sit there and, you know, talk to yourself all the time. But I work out a lot of my ideas. I work through a lot of things, and honestly, I always think, oh, that would be a good topic to stream. You know, something to bring up on stream and talk about, and, you know, get into, do a deep dive. But then I turn on the camera and I start streaming, and I just completely forget what the hell I was thinking. It happens a lot. Happens a lot more than I care to. I'd rather have a better brain that actually worked. But no, it doesn't always seem to work out that way. Shouldn't even say always. It never works out that way. God, I'm trying to remember what the hell it was I was talking about. I guess a lot of it has to do with just how I perceive behavior. I'm a student of human behavior. And it's amazing to me how we fall into traps our entire life, and we keep going through the same cycles over and over and over repeatedly. And it's like everyone's bound to it and no one can break free from it, you know? And it's crazy to me because all the answers are right there for everyone to see. They're all right there. But no one pays attention and no one, you know, goes too deep into the weeds to actually realize that we're all just kind of repeating the same mistakes over and over. It would be nice to see a generation actually adopt lessons from the past and grow and learn from it, utilize it for its fullest potential and grow and learn and all of that. It's like, but it just doesn't seem like it's in the cards. I don't know. I don't get it. I also think that society is fundamentally broken. I really feel like there's no point to it in the sense that there's no fixing it. There's no easy fix. And I get inundated all the time on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. I'm getting inundated with politics. Politics here, politics there. My job is politics now. So it's like, I can't escape politics. And it sucks because I just don't get into it. And the reason why I don't is because to me, I'm very much in some ways I'm liberal, in other ways I'm conservative. One of the ways I'm conservative is that I really don't believe that government is the answer to anything. I don't think that creating laws, you know, is an answer for anything. I don't think it's, you know, like, oh, well, you know, we see the inequities in this or the problems here and with this and that, so we're going to create a law and that's going to change things. It doesn't change anything. I wish they would make a law that would outlaw this. Well, they do. They make laws like that shit all the time. But the problem is, and here's what it ultimately comes down to, is like legislators are literally just trying, they're just people with jobs and they're trying to keep their jobs. They're trying to justify their own employment and their high-priced fucking salaries. So they come up with these ideas on what they can promote, what they can get behind, and they move forward. I know I make it sound so cynical and callous, but that's downplaying the fact that they really do have agendas. Some of them really do have agendas and are really passionate about things. But there's one thing that escapes most people is that the passionate, I don't want to get myself in trouble. Let's just say, these aren't they're not the most intelligent people on the planet, the people who run for office and who win, who get elected. You know, they're representative of the people, and the people are not entirely all that put together. There's no requirement that says you have to be, you know, of a certain IQ level. Someone, I'm not going to say who, but someone recently told me that there should be restrictions on voting, that only you should have to pass an IQ test to vote. I'm like, that's sinister shit. I know it's just offhand comments and this and that, but that really is sinister shit when you really boil it down and get down to it. I mean, these are the same people who cry a fucking bloody river when someone brings up voter ID. Like, oh my God, but people will be barred access from voting. Yet they're the same people who will actually make a legitimate argument for IQ-based voting. It's like people want what they want, and they don't consider the ramifications of what they want. And this is the mark of true lack of intelligence. But I still don't think that should, you know, mean that someone doesn't have the opportunity or doesn't get to vote, you know. You're now restricted from voting because you vote bad or you think bad or you don't plan out your what you think and what you want, which is terrible in the sense of like, lawmakers and things like that. You think they're the ones who have the job. They're the ones who should be taking that stuff seriously and legitimately throwing all of their time into analyzing all the different rabbit holes and possibilities and tangents that their laws, will create. But the problem is it's not just one person making a law. And this is one of the fundamental aspects of what makes our government so ineffective, so to speak. I don't want to say ineffective, but it makes it as such that you can be passionate all you want about a bill that you're sponsoring or something that you're trying to push through, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it will get piggybacked on, it'll get changed, it will be bastardized and glory hole and stuffed full of pork and bullshit that by the time you're done with it, you're just happy. You're lucky if it got through in even a fraction of its original form, and then at that point you're just so exhausted and whatever, you're just happy it got through. It's something you can tack on the wall as an accomplishment. Hey, I put a bill through and put forward a bill, it went through, and that's one of my accomplishments. But it's not as simple as here's a bill, or here's a resolution, or here's a bill we're proposing, and it stays that way all the way through. So you have that aspect of government, but you also have the aspect of these people create laws. They don't create the enforcement mechanisms on which these laws are to be enforced. And they know they can't because enforcement requires bodies. It requires people. It requires money. And in the great state of Illinois, that's one thing we don't have. So you can create all the laws on paper you want. And you can say, well, this is for a future tense situation where these things may happen down the line, and then we'll be ready for it because the law will already be passed, as though that actually fucking merits anything, is worth anything, because it really isn't, because they're just going to change it anyway by the time it actually becomes something that's, important and needs to actually be discussed. But the overall, like they talk about, there's one thing that's going around social media now. There's some politician, probably on the side of the aisle that I work for, most likely, I think it is, who's pitching some sort of fire pit fee or license or regulation or some shit, like backyard burning stuff. It's like basically making it to where, which is fucking bizarre. I mean, it's bizarre to me because what they're proposing is that counties, towns, municipalities, counties, things like that can offer licenses to burn, have open pit, open burn on someone's property. But you already have the ability, if you live in a town in Illinois, they have the ability to outright ban burning in the town. There's already their ability to do so, to just say no. But this isn't about safety. This isn't about insurance. This isn't about anything. This is about making money off of soft targets. That's what this is. That's what all of government anymore seems to be about. It's how can we extract as much money from soft targets as we can. And they know people in rural communities, especially because rural communities are where you're going to find most of that, will burn leaves and things like that. And they'll come up with 400 reasons why it's a good thing that people should be restricted. But people in Chicago making that sort of decision for downstate people is kind of asinine. Because you don't live down here. You don't know. Like, you live in a city where you probably don't have to deal with leaves. And also, you're probably a politician that makes a pretty good amount of money, so you don't ever have to clean up anything yourself or do anything yourself. You hire it out. I mean, there's this weird disconnect. I've been saying this for a long time. Like, I think people in public service, you shouldn't even call it public service anymore. It is a career path. I mean, public service is the farthest thing from what it is. You're not a servant of the public. You are a very well paid individual when you reach that echelon of elected status. And it's just people justifying their seats and trying to stay in their seats and justify their paycheck and keep earning it, make more. I was thinking, like, if I could pass one law, it would be not for term limits. It would be to reduce and cap the pay of all members of Congress or elected officials in government in the state, overall. Soraya telling me she's getting off in a few minutes, which is fantastic because, I didn't start. I thought she wouldn't be home till 9. Whatever. That my reasoning for that, my thinking behind that is that I feel like it's no longer a job that people look at as a public service. They look at it as a career path. They're not doing it for the right reasons. And now a lot of people would argue, well, if you do that, then you're just opening up, more potential for bribery in the public sector because you're underpaying the reason why we pay legislators so much or try to pay them so much is to keep, lobbyists money out of their pockets and trying to keep, special interest groups from buying them off. Because then they make the case, well, I can't afford my own life. But serving in government was never about affording one's own life. It was never about actually, making a comfortable living. It was public service. It's almost like the draft. It's a civil service. So, with that in mind, you think, well, they have to be paid something. Well, yeah, they'd be paid a modest wage. I would say $60,000 a year would be fine for that. Oh, well, that, most people, especially in downstate, would be like, yeah, that's fair. Most people in Chicago would probably disagree. But my point is being, they can have another job. They can do other things. The service to the state and being a representative, passing bills, passing laws, because you got to realize they're only in session for 5 months a year. Then there's veto session, but they're only in session they only do work really on this stuff for 5 months. So, and to say that it's 5 months nonstop, like it's fucking 40 or 80 hours a week or whatever, no, it's not even that. So, in all actuality, their work is very, 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 very minimal. So even if you did have another job, you could leave your job, serve during session, do all of that, and then return to your job. But people don't want to do that. People don't want to do that. I had a conversation with someone about how we haven't ever since World War II, the face of our military has changed so much to where people have forgotten that those people who went off to war, World War I, World War II, when they came back to the United States, they just took jobs, regular jobs. A lot of those people did. They would be heroes over there. Run into machine gun nests and mow down countless Germans. Fight tooth and nail. Break all the odds and come back alive to the States. And you think, oh man, they should be given $1 million. They should never have to pay taxes again. Everything should be set. They go back to factory work. They work in a fucking auto dealership. Whatever it was just menial work that they'd come back to. And they'd be happy to do it. Because it wasn't dying overseas like all their fucking buddies were. They're back home. They can live a life. It may not be a life of comfort, but it's going to be a life nonetheless. A life they can live. And that's all they wanted. And it's crazy to me that, nowadays there's so much more entitlement. There's so much more of this expectation of people saying, well, we need to give these servicemen more and all this. And it's just not, it's not just servicemen. It's everyone who serves in any capacity in the government at all. It's like, well, they deserve more. They deserve to be paid more. They should make more. Why? It's public service. And yes, I'll be the first to admit, my job, I feel weird because I'm where I stand in things is I oppose my own job. So it's a crazy thing to say, but I oppose my own job. I feel like I can't believe that if put to a vote, I don't think that the taxpayers of this state would want me to have this job. I honestly don't. I think they wouldn't want a job like this to exist in the state. Now, granted, I'm one of several people who do this in different capacities and different functions. I mean, there's representatives who have their own, like videographers that follow them around and do shit. The governor has one, the Secretary of State. I mean, everyone on both sides of the aisle employs this sort of, tactic and this sort of work. And if it wasn't, me working for the state, they would be spending tax dollars to pay outside businesses and studios and production facilities to do the same thing. So the money, everyone keeps telling me the same thing. Oh, well, the money's going to be spent regardless. They're going to spend the money. It's there, or it's earmarked, or it's whatever. So you don't have to feel bad. It's like I never said I feel bad. I just feel like I'm betraying my own ethics to a certain degree. As a person who believes in small government, I'm one of those people who says, "Oh, my salary is coming straight out of the taxpayer's dole, and what's it going to? Some video here and there." I mean, I used to think about my former employer and how much of a drag my salary was on their bottom line. It's like I worry about that. I thought about that. The moral dilemma that presented itself, and here I am now making taxpayer dollars, and how can I feel any better about it? Of course, I don't feel better about it. I don't feel better about it, but it is what it is at the end of the day. But I truly feel like if people were serious about really ratcheting back public, government spending, my job would be probably one of the first to go. I'd expect it to be. I would expect a lot of jobs and a lot of services and a lot of things that we spend on to be eradicated. And some people would argue to the death that is not the way to go. Of course, because they have a lot of people. There's a lot of people who rely on that. But that's the kind of hole you that's the kind of hole you dig yourself into when you're not being careful. You end up in this situation where it all spirals out of control before you know it. And now you've got too many people who rely on this certain set amount of money. It's like, okay, now we got to maintain that. But now we've got all these other expenses to come up and all this other stuff that comes up. And, oh, well, we got to pay for this. We got to pay for that. But we can't cut this. We can't cut that. But sometimes you have to. Sometimes you just have to. But there's too much humanity at stake when it's talking about people's livelihoods, when you actually employed them and gave them jobs. The smartest thing to do would have been don't make a job at all for that. It's the same thing with the immigration argument. People say, well, look at the horrible things that the Trump administration is doing. Look at all these horrible things, taking these people and for one thing, I don't want to hear the fucking word kidnapping. They're not being kidnapped. Okay, this is retarded. They're not being kidnapped. They're here illegally. If they weren't here illegally, they wouldn't be deporting. They're being deported. You can't deport an American citizen. What are you going to do? Deport them back to their home in the United States? The point being, Democrats created this problem by flooding the country, just opening the floodgates and saying, come on in, folks. And it never used to be this way. It was only in the last several years, mainly under Biden, where they were just like, oh, this is what Trump was all about. Well, we're so anti-Trump, we're going to do this. And it's like, wait, what? No. And they ended up having their own constituents turn against them this past election. Literally turn against them. And they still didn't get the fucking point. It's like watching a party, just continuously, like, it shoots itself in the foot, and then it's like, God, I shot myself in the foot. Oh my God. And then they, like, few months pass, like, oh boy, that wound healed. I'll never do that again. Then you hand them the gun and they fucking shoot themselves in the other foot. Oh my God, I just shot myself in the foot. Why did I do it again? It's like, yeah, why do you keep shooting yourself in the foot? It's like, I get it. But that's what happens when you go on this whole campaign of othering people to such a degree to where you now have to basically, you feel like the whole party has to sink or swim on these priorities that you've set. You have literally painted yourself into a corner. It's something I never thought I would see in a political realm. I never thought I'd see a body politique literally paint itself into a no-win situation where it literally has to capitulate. It has no other choice. It either has to win entirely or capitulate because you can't backpedal your way out of this, especially with the youth now on board with a lot of this idea. You can't just backpedal your way out because they're not going to let you forget. They're not going to let you forget the promises you made. They're not going to let. God damn it, woman! I told you. I'm sorry, but I fucking flat out told her I was at home. Not to mention the fact she's probably asking if I want to go out to eat, which I don't because I already ate. It's just, I want better for our country and I want better for the political sphere. And I'm not anti-Democrat. I'm not anti-Republican. I'm pro-America. Pro-America. America's the greatest country in the world. Firmly believe that. But I believe that we are really so fucking trapped in this back and forth, childish back and forth, mind you, that both parties are making really fucking bad decisions as a baseline of that. It's really, really bad decisions. And the further it goes down this path, the darker it gets. And the sad part is there's so many people who are literally throwing themselves either into prison or the morgue over political beliefs and political ideology. It's insane. I mean, the fervor that people are riled up to be in. It's just crazy. I keep saying that everyone keeps talking about socialist this and socialism that and communism this, communism that. And it's funny to me because I don't think anyone in this country really has a fundamentally working understanding of either. And I think that they think that we can just turn what we have into basically it's not even really socialism or communism. It's basically taking capitalism and strong arming it with fascism into a feel good scenario where now our capitalist society pays for things that which is, if you really want to think about it, and this is the thing that always gets me about what the youth always cries about and wants and talks about. They want this system where you get the benefits of capitalism, but then you also get all their wildest dreams fucking come true. And there is no more greed, there is no more this, there is no more that, and we just disperse the money evenly, and everyone lives happily ever after. But one thing, the desire to basically force your system of thought and your oppression onto other people is in fact greed. Now you can say that. Oh, here's one of the things I was thinking earlier today was like, I always have discussions with my friend Tim about free market, the free market. This wonder he considers himself a libertarian, and I firmly don't subscribe to libertarianism. I think it's just I think it's a cop out. I always have and I always will. And this is from a guy who doesn't choose a side. So for the fence riding asshole to say you're copping out by choosing libertarianism is saying something. But the funny thing to me is that, he's got a point in a certain circumstance when you say that the free market isn't able to really moderate itself. We don't allow the free market to dictate anything. And everyone says, well, that's because if we don't have safeguards, people will get paid nothing. They won't pay a living wage. Well, they already say they don't pay a living wage now. Everyone who bitches and moans about the government this and the government, or not the government, but these corporations and these billionaires, they don't pay a living wage to their people. All right, well, it could be a lot worse, couldn't it? They could be paid $3 an hour. I mean, well, that's just crazy. Not really. Here's the way I look at it. You take all the fucking federal safeguards and all the regulations off of companies. They can trade as they want. They can do as they want. They can pay what they want. They can run their factories and their businesses exactly how they want. It doesn't cost them. The bar set for operation of their facilities no longer costs X amount of dollars as designated by the state and its regulations, the state and the federal government's regulations. Now they can basically produce the products they want, sell them as they see fit, and charge what they want and pay what they want to the people who help them manufacture it. What you end up with is a system in which things have to be done, but things also have to be bought and sold. The economy the economy runs itself. It really does, because you're not going to have a business too long if you're not selling products, and you can't sell products if people can't afford your products, and people can't afford your products if they're not making enough money to afford said products. So if you're deliberately paying people $3 an hour, they're never going to buy anything. And if they don't buy anything, the economy stops, the society stops working. Everyone has this weird fucking crazy breakdown in their logic train of thinking about this thing, how it's all cyclical and it's all like a Mobius strip. Like the whole chain has to be completed or it will not work at all. You can't just remove one aspect of it or change one aspect of it and expect the whole chain to not be affected. It's the same thing with raising the fucking minimum wage. It always happens. We're going to raise the minimum wage. Well, here comes inflation. Here comes everything going up. No. It's all interconnected. It's all interconnected. I was doing fine until they raised minimum wage in the state. I was making really good money. Then they raised the minimum wage by like, Jesus, how much they raise it by? $8 an hour? They effectively over doubled the minimum wage. And that took what I was making and shrunk it down to practically nothing. as the cost of everything else went up. And they want to pretend like, oh, well, that didn't have an effect. Okay. The point being, everyone says tax the wealthy, tax the wealthy. Corporations don't pay the kind of, you know why corporations don't pay a lot of tax? Because they don't make a lot of profit. And that's a fact. That's the one thing that corporations understand and knowingly understand. In order to keep more of their money, they can't have huge profit margins. Because profit margins mean more taxable income, more taxable wages. So they have to invest that shit. They have to repurpose it. They have to put it back into their industry. They have to do whatever, donate whatever, to get rid of a lot of that capital so they don't have to pay it into the government, because nobody wants to pay into the government. Nobody. And when it comes to disbursement of actual funds, payment to shareholders, employees, board members, things like that, there's all sorts of interesting rabbit holes, loopholes, whatever. I mean, it's no different than, okay, I got paid a bonus of blah, blah, blah. I put that into a blah, 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 some sort of interest-free account. It's going to be locked up. The point is the money's locked up. And once it comes out, it's going to be taxed. It's going to be paid. But the problem is they're going to lock that shit up. Just like when people talk about billionaires, they think there's these people walking around with billions of dollars in liquid assets and liquid capital at a moment's notice. No, that's money on paper. It's locked up. It's locked up into investments and CDs and mutual funds and money market accounts. It's not liquid. If it was, they would already paid the taxes on it, and then government would be like, "Oh, look at this unbelievable surplus." That's why I don't understand why they talk about, the government always says, raise the taxes on the rich, raise the taxes on the rich. Raise the taxes on what? They're already sheltering their money in investments in things that are non-taxable that you can't touch. So even if you raise the taxes, it's not going to fucking matter because their money's locked up. And the more you raise the taxes on the rich, the more money they're going to have to start putting off into these fucking accounts and start shelling it back. And then that destroys the economy even more, because now you have less investment possibility. You have less business growth. You have less opportunity for growth and development. You're handicapping our industries. You're handicapping our economic growth. And you're basically just giving China and other countries a free rein to just take right over, to blossom and prosper, while our companies are being persecuted for things they'll never fucking pay. They will never pay it. And the reason I know they won't pay it is because they will literally spend the money they have to on their own industries to minimize profit margins and lock the rest of it up in tax-free fucking investment portfolios and whatnot. And that money will stay locked up, plus any dividends and interest that they make will stay locked up until someone comes around in office and basically sweeps it all away. Oh, remember all those high taxes that we were going to do, all the taxes? Yeah, well, we're getting rid of that. And then all the money just falls, oh, we can spend our money now. Bloop. This is why, this is what you start to realize when it comes to the people who truly believe that politicians are making a difference versus those who really understand the game. And the ones who understand the game understand, and they know that they'll do shit like that. And they'll say, well, we're going to raise the taxes on the rich. And then they're going to put bills for it, and they're going to debate it, and they're going to put it out there, and blah, blah, blah. They know it's going to be shot down. They know it. They have business interests that they meet with, and they have to discuss with too. Hell, even the businesses understand. Businesses are half time in bed with them anyway. Think about, before I go off on that tangent, but let's just say this. They know it's a game. They know it's not going to happen. And even if it does happen, they know they're not going to get the money that they thought they were. This is appeasement. It's an appeasement move on their behalf, on their part, to their constituents to get office, to stay in office. and to make it look like they're fighting the good cause, which is bullshit. It's bullshit. But people, on the whole, do not understand this. And they never will. It's bonkers to me. It really is how people can just remain so irrevocably dumb and ignorant to how the world works. I don't know. But then you can opt out too. There's not knowing and there's not caring. It's kind of a mixture of both, I suppose. It goes both ways when you really think about it. I kind of fall into the latter. I don't care. It's my interests have never been maximizing profits, making as much money as possible, this and that. Because the thing is, like, well, what, you never thought about, like, retiring early? You never thought about, having an easier life and blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, maybe when I was younger, I thought it'd be great to, make money and not have to work. But the older I get, the more you start to realize, like, I don't really have much else going on. I mean, what do I need a bunch of free time for? Then you start to think, well, okay, well, then what's the money for? If you don't have free time, what's the money for? Even if you do have money, let's just say magical land. You have all the free time and money you want, but yet you don't do anything with it. Then what's the fucking point of it? That's the dilemma that I've faced for many years. It's a dilemma that may be uniquely mine. I don't know. I don't think so. I think a lot of people feel this way when they get to that level. And then you start to kind of realize it's the same dilemma a lot of people who actually retire feel and experience. The regret. I had a routine, I had a system, I had something that I did and that I kind of, defined me. It doesn't define you as a person, but it sort of becomes the thing that you know about yourself and you do, and it is sort of defining, but not character defining. I don't know how to put it in a better way, but it becomes something you depend on to get you through. And then when you retire, it's over. You lose that. And then you start to question, well, what do I do now? What do I do with my time? And it starts to become, loneliness starts to really creep into the equation. And it starts to become a real thing that you never considered before. Because back when it mattered, and back when you were full of piss and vinegar and you had every opportunity ahead of you, and you were much, much younger and things were much different in your life. The older you get, the more settled in to just the grind you become. And then when you take the grind away, what else do you have? What's left? That's why a lot of people I know who retired went right back to work, because they just couldn't take it. It's like they may have taken a year or two off and traveled the country, went a bunch of different places, whatever, but they almost always go right back to work because they just sitting around at a house doing nothing day in, day out. It gets to you. I had that experience during COVID. COVID to me was a real wake-up call to my future and what to expect. And it was crazy to me because it's like, I was like, I'm not happy with this at all. I don't like this at all. And that scares me because I'm like, how am I supposed to keep busy for the rest of my life as I start to break down mentally, physically? How am I going to keep up with this? I don't know. I started looking into CDs today because I'm like, I was just thinking about like having money in a savings account, and it's like, well, why don't I invest it into a CD just to see, I mean, the returns aren't that great. You lock up a CD in a You lock up about, I don't know, what, 10 grand in a 1-year CD. Most you're going to get out of it's like maybe $600, something like that. 600, 700, 800, maybe 1,000 if you're good. 1,000 maybe. But it's like, okay, then what do you do? Well, then you can just reinvest it. Now you got all that interest that you accumulated on all that interest. Listen to me. And then you reinvest that, and now it just keeps growing over the years. But then I realize now, like, on a time span of growth potential versus years I have left, the amount of years I need to actually grow that is not sufficient. Let me back up. Let's go back and say I put myself on a 10-year plan, which is my 10-year plan until retirement, because that's how many years I have until I get access to my 401k without penalty. I'll already be 4 years past the deadline in which I can access my pension from my previous employer. But 10 years will be the mark on which I will get access to the state pension if I stay with the state for 10 years. So I have all of that working for me. But what if I wanted to invest my own money? What if I wanted to also use that 10 years to compound? And I did the CD ladder, and just keep working on that. Well, that's one way to go about doing things, but I still feel like as much as you can do that, I don't know. I guess to me, it's like, I mean, you can't say it's not doing anything because it is. Your money is making money. It's just not making a whole hell of a lot of money. But I guess it can snowball into something bigger. But the reason why I was looking into it is because it's better than just sitting there doing nothing, I guess. You have a consistent amount of money that's in your account for long periods. And that's what drove me to is because I'm getting contacted by my bank, by their financial advisors constantly. Like, hey, well, you should consider blah, blah, blah. Like, because I've had like several thousands of dollars in our bank account for like several years now. And it's like, why aren't you investing that money? It's like, because I don't know. Because it's going to be gone. I always anticipated it as soon as it gets up to a certain number, it's going to be gone because I'm going to pay off a debt. But my whole goal ultimately was to pay all of our really shitty, useless debt down. That way we could have an influx of money every month. And then we can just pump that into, and I wanted to get to that point before I start pumping things into money market accounts and CDs and things like that, because I wanted there to be an influx of money, a positive influx of money every month. That way, when we lock up money, there will always still be money coming in. We don't have to worry about, well, if we put this in a CD, then we won't have access to it, penalty free for 5 months, 6 months, a year, or whatever. But it would be nice to just sort of like ladder that stuff up over the next 4 or 5 years. And then by the time we hit 5 years out, we have several CDs that are stacked on a 5-year plan. Or maybe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that way it all kind of matures at the very end. Then we can just yank it out. Or just keep it on a system where it's in there for 5 years. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's locked up. It's not like I'm contributing to it. It's an active account that I'm pouring more money into. It's just building interest on what's in there. So I could just keep rolling it over and doing stuff with the dividends, or just folding the dividends back in, or setting it up to where if you have enough money in these, then you start actually withdrawing it, paying the taxes, and living off your dividends. That could contribute to what I'm also making off my 401k and pensions. But then it gets back to my core point of why. All the time in the world enough money to do whatever I want, what do I do? Well, that is a question I have no answer to, because I just don't. There's not a lot I want to do in the world. I can say this. My wife has been having these knee issues lately, and her it's been really affecting her mobility, her ability to get around. It's been affecting her job. But she fell the other night, taking our dogs out. Slipped on some ice, fell. And then 2 days later, her knee got better. So come to the magical miracle backyard of my house and slip and fall, and it will heal your injury. I don't know. I think that's what's going on with her knee is it was swollen. You could definitely tell and feel it and see it. It was swollen, but I think it was whatever she did broke up something or did something that caused whatever swelling to just dissipate. And now it's relieving all that pressure that was on her knee and just dissipated it for a day, and it's going to come right back. I don't know. She's going to physical therapy Friday, so we'll see. Speaking of the health note, I got my long-awaited MRI yesterday. That's always fun. Waiting on the results now. I don't anticipate it being anything different than what I already knew, which is, oh yeah, it's either shrank or it's still the same size. I highly doubt the fucking thing's grown. And I know it hasn't grown, because that would be totally against my existence and who I am in this world and what I've experienced. It just wouldn't. If it's grown, that literally means I'm going to die, because I have a tumor in my head that's growing and it's non-operable, or they can't remove it with operation. They can't cut it out or whatever, So it's basically a death sentence if it is growing. So it can't be that, because fate is not going to let me off the hook. I am bound to this reality. I'm going to be here for a long fucking time. Not because I want to, because I have to. So there's that. And that's why it's not going to shock me in the slightest when my doctor gets back. Oh yeah, it's this. Yeah, I knew. She still wants me to get with an endocrinologist, neurologist, dermatologist. The dermatologist, because of the skin cancer I had, they want to check up on me and follow up, because, well, if you have skin cancer once, it can come back. Like, of course, fine, whatever. It is the largest organ, whatever. Endocrinology is for the prolactin shit. Which, if I have to stay on a regimen of cabergoline for the rest of my life, I'm going to be fucking mad. Because that's fucking stupid. I'm already taking doxycycline every goddamn day. I don't want to have to take 2 pills. Well, I don't have to take it every day. I have to take a pill twice a week. But it sucks, because it's dumb. It fucks with my hormones. I don't like it. It fucks with my emotions. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to have to go to a neurologist either. The neurologist, I haven't had neuropathy for a while. I mean, I get headaches, but who doesn't at this age? The actual neuropathy, or the neuralgia, I should say, hasn't really been a thing for a while, So I don't, and sure, I have like the occasional nerve issues, but I don't really, it's not enough to say like it's debilitating or preventing me from living my life. So I just don't think about it that much. I don't know. What have I discussed? A whole bunch of nothing. A bunch of shit. I think tomorrow I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on something. I'm going to upload. I'm going to look at something. I'm going to look at something. I'm going to work on something. God damn it. I got to compare. I got to do a few things. Anyway, whatever. God, I don't know why I do this. I don't know if it's like this all the time. I feel like I can't keep a thought in my head. I feel like my ADD is really kicked into high gear in the past 3 years. And it's very hard for me to stay focused on anything. Or maybe it's been like this for a long time. I just forgot. I don't know. But it's difficult to process anything. I end up like a zombie most days. Stuck in the same fucking routines. Never doing anything. Feeling like I don't have enough time to do anything. Yet doing the same shit over and over. And then when I do have time, I sit around and I don't do anything. And then I wonder where all the time went. It's weird. Yeah, well. Where has the time gone? I've been thinking about the streams, and I remember when I used to watch independent movies. I thought, well, that was fun. But then again, who am I to shit on people's work? You know, I think and it got to a point where I was like, you know, I just keep watching the same shit over and over, and I get so frustrated watching this stuff. It's like, God, just more crap, more bad shit. And you go through so much of it, and it's like, it never fucking ends. I don't know. I think I'm going to call it. This is running off my old computer, my desktop, too. I didn't bring my laptop home today. I'm going to bring it home tomorrow because I don't want to have to keep bringing it back and forth. So hopefully the office doesn't burn down. We did have a fire drill today. We all had to leave. I was like, oh, I left my laptop in there. That's okay, though. Yeah. And then I got one more week before session starts up again. So just more waiting. I hate it. I'm waiting for the snow to melt and the temperature to rise so I can get out and hike. I really fucking need to get out in the woods. It'll do me some good. Life is a joke. All right. I'm out of here. Later.